Hello everyone. I'm going to make this video so that you could watch it later and get more of what I really want to say, because 45 minutes is really not enough time to get across everything, but I'm just going to read and talk about what I want to say in between things. So anyways, here goes. So here's my abstract, and you've read it probably. That's why you're here. Anyways, Western expats go through many things when arriving and living in Korea. How should we adapt to this culture? How can we deal with the mentalities of a culture that is not our own? Korea is a society with a Confucius mindset that is trying to fit into a modern world. They have two minds, traditional and modern. They can clash with Western ideals. What can we do to adapt to the physical, mental, spiritual, and social aspects of a country that we might consider to be different to our home country? What is adaptation? Do we need to do exactly what the Romans do? Personally, no. I've lived here for 25 years, and I don't believe that you have to do everything the Koreans do or say or anything. I live with a Korean. I've lived with him for 20 some years, 21 years. We've been married, but we've been together longer, 24 years. But you can't let go of who you are as a person and as a person from another country. The problems we face here are sometimes hard and overwhelming and hard to come to terms with. The freedom of the use of alcohol, the physical criticisms of our bodies, and that's on my mind almost every day because I have grown bigger here in Korea. It's very overwhelming to have that criticism. The spiritual stagnation, churches and things like that here in Korea aren't as open and homey like home. So I've had a hard time in that area also, although I did come here as a missionary. The idea that we are stuck with people, expatriates and locals that we could possibly never relate to or come into contact in our home countries, and that's something we have to learn to overcome, or if that's the right word, I don't know. But anyways, you have to learn to make friends even if you think you would never do it in your own country. The coming and going of the friends we have made, they do come and they do go, and sometimes even if they stay, you don't see them as often as you wish or would like to. The Koreans that may only use us for our English language skills or other traits, and I've had this experience so many times. I've been used so many times for my English. I've also was friends with a lady, and one day out of the blue she called me up and said, "Hey, I don't want to be your friend anymore." Well, I never knew why, and for 10 years she never came back. Anyways, she came back during another time in my life when my younger son was sick with pneumonia, and she was there, and she came and she says, "How may I help you?" And I'm like, I haven't seen you for 10 years and you want to invent our friendship. So there are times that it's hard to trust other people here in Korea sometimes. Foreigners, pretty much the same. You don't see them often. Especially me, I don't socialize as much as I should, and so that sometimes is an issue in my life. How to find a positive way to deal with these demons that may cause a person to feel hopeless and isolated when lacking familiar support systems. Well, I deal with my mind demons every single day. I feel isolated because I stay pretty much with my family. I do go out with friends once in a blue moon, especially since my kids are older now. Before that, hardly ever went out. I think in the last maybe 2 or 3 years is when I've started to go out. And that's, I didn't have that balance when my children were small. So you feel isolated. And when lacking familiar support systems, of course, the only support system I have that are all in America, in my home. My mother and my siblings, nieces and nephews. But I Skype with my mom almost every day. That helps a lot. Also, Facebook, of course, is my link to my high school friends, my college friends. It's kind of like living vicariously, perhaps leaving them with the sense that nothing can be done. And then, sometimes there are so many times in my life that I feel like I can't do anything about my situation here in Korea. But I have learned in my marriage, in my time with my children, raising my children in a country that is different. They go to public schools. They've gone from daycare all the way up. And my older son, is going into university now. Anyhow, continuing on, there's so many things that you can do that can help open your mind here in Korea. Of course, we have our lovely cell phones, and for me, I use a gratitude app. I do gratitudes. I use a Bible app that you take pictures that you've taken and you put a Bible verse in it. Because I am a Christian, that is my spiritual way, because I believe in a higher power. There are many resources here in Korea, but far and few between for foreigners, really. I will tell you the story about losing my baby here in Korea. I lost my first child 21 years ago. It was a honeymoon pregnancy, and I'll tell you the story in the workshop, but I'm just going to read it here, and you can fill in the blanks when you come to the workshop. Our first pregnancy was a honeymoon pregnancy. It was full of fear and trepidation, many hospital visits. From 5 to 8 months along, and I kept asking the doctor why the baby wasn't moving very much. She said it was sleeping 90% of the time. I feared something was wrong. The doctor said, "No, you have no idea. It was your first pregnancy. You don't know." "I know." Well, she didn't really. She said 90% sleeping. I feared something was wrong with my baby. I kept getting skin issues. Once the bacteria was even eating into my arm. At 8 months, I was extremely fatigued. It was a tiredness I had never felt before. I fell asleep and woke as if I was hit in the stomach with an earthquake. I told my husband we must get to the hospital. We arrived and we waited for what seemed an eternity. The doctor took an ultrasound and point blank said, "Your baby is dead." She didn't really, that's what she said. She said, "Your baby's dead." And of course, that's like a Pew! Shot to your heart. Of course, we cried and were in complete shock. I had to get prepped for giving birth to my dead baby. I was screaming all the time for my husband. The nurses wouldn't allow my husband to come in to my room. It was all a nightmare. The nurses were rude and the doctors were non-communicative because they probably couldn't speak English enough. They moved me to another bed and the doctor checked I was in labor and ready for the final stages within 30 minutes of taking medicine to have the baby. I kept yelling, "The baby is coming," and they go, "Oh no, it's not." Well, the baby hadn't grown very much in my womb. So they thought it would take longer. They laid me on a bed to give birth and the baby was born. I kept asking to hold and see the baby and they refused. They held her up for only a few seconds, then plopped her down onto the refuse pile, on the piles of bloody gauze. I then was quickly stitched up and taken to recovery. I spent a hot, nightmarish night. I learned later that I was septic from my baby being dead inside of me. I didn't know that actually until about 10 years later. My husband actually told me. That's how severe our grief was. We don't talk about it much. I'm the one that says something or does something about it. Needless to say, I went through 2 years of nightmares, anger, jealousy, fear, etc. How did I deal with it? I think I had PTSD. I had no real support system here in Korea, not even my husband, because, again, no real communication between us after that about it. Let bygones be bygones is basically his mindset. My mother-in-law always said, "Oh, it's okay, you'll have more babies." Well, of course that doesn't make you feel any better. I happened to find a counselor at the social welfare department in my area. How? Well, I just went there seeking someone to help. I talked with her for about 5 months, but it became really redundant to me to keep talking about the negative aspects of my life. It just didn't seem like I was getting any help other than she just listening to me, even though her English was good and it was free. So you can go to your local Bokshikwan, which is the social welfare department. They're usually in your areas, your dongs. And anyways, I started to find other ways to get myself out of my funk, out of the hole I was in. Facebook journaling, praying, finding gratitude in small things, exercising, working. It wasn't and still isn't foolproof. I am up and I am down so often, but the biggest help has been my faith and the gratitude I feel. I'm not perfectly fixed nor perfectly recovered. I am reminded every day of my daughter and what she could have been by looking at my students. If I look at my students or even some of the Korean American mixed women, oh my goodness, that are close to my daughter's age, oh my goodness, it's so difficult sometimes. But I have to be thankful. I have 2 sons that are turning into awesome young men. I have a husband that works hard for his family. I have my stateside family that stays in contact every day on Skype. I try to find the positive in the negative situations I still face every day here in Korea. A place of interest and strangeness. So like I said, gratitude journal, oh my goodness, that has helped. And of course, putting on Facebook and other places, it just helps to show others that my feelings are real and it validates my feelings. I am such a worrywart. I am a terrible person in that aspect. I worry a lot. I have so many negative thoughts, so I have to learn. Happiness is not what I'm looking for. I came to that epiphany a long time ago. When I think it was about 10 years ago, my husband said we're not going to move to America. And there were some other things. My children weren't going to go to America to go study. He didn't want to raise the money. His fears kept us from going. And because I have this dutiful mind of what a wife should be, my Western thoughts, I have stayed with my husband, and we do things differently, but we do a lot of family things. We try to do family things together. Anyhow, there's no cure, but the thing is when you come to Korea, you need to adapt. You need to be positive. You need to take care of yourself physically and nutritionally. Eat good food. Don't scrimp on your food. Don't eat the wrong things. Also, in scientific and my opinion also, drinking too much is not the way to help your mental feelings, because of course alcohol, as you know, is a depressant. So for me, I don't drink, but that, you can drink in moderation. But there are times that a lot of foreigners I know, they come and they're young people and they want to have a good time, but in the end, some of them have become alcoholics and some of them have had more depression. Those things, you can't over exaggerate the amount of liquor you drink, whatever. Anyways, continuing on. I have to fight my negative thinking every single day. And, there are so many statistics and everything that you could read about that can help. I've got lots of books and stuff that I've used since my daughter died and also since I've been here, and I do get depressed often. But I think I have also taken medicine for anxiety and I have fibromyalgia. That's a chronic pain syndrome. Anyways, I used to take medicine for it for a long time, but it just made me tired. It made me mindless, really. So, along with my husband, we decided I wouldn't take it anymore. So I do take herbal medications and homeopathic stuff. You can try CBD oil. I would like to try it, but again, it's harder to get it here in Korea. I think I have to go to the doctor and, do all those things. But, I think it's the thinking and your response to things and your reactions that you have to change. I have a big issue with all that because I am so overreacting sometimes. I'm a very sensitive person. But even though I'm a sensitive person, doesn't mean that it's not a strength. It is a strength. It can be a weakness too, but it's a strength. I have found strength in my sensitivity to others' body language, to others' thinking even. You just have to respond differently. And I fail every day, all the time. So anyways, that's basically what I would really like to say. There's more things, there's so many things on the internet that we can use. Excuse me. You can hear my bird in the background. I have animals. I have a dog. I have my birds. They just give me a sense of home because I'm definitely, excuse me, oh my goodness, country girl. Anyways, find contentment in your life. I think contentment is better than struggling to be happy, super happy. It doesn't always work. Anyhow, if you have time, watch this. I don't know what else I can say, but from my experience, you have to keep on going, keep on keeping on, keep on trucking, fight on. All those words that we say to each other, and it's true. But for me, my biggest thing was my relationship with my higher power, with God. You have to have some kind of spiritual balance, mental balance, physical balance, all those things. So I hope this helps you deal with some of the things that have happened in our expat community. Recently we had a suicide and several deaths at Usong and at Jungbu. We're all connected somehow, and we have to support each other. We are our world, even though we're from so many different countries. Yes, I'm an American, but seriously, we are expats. So yeah, we have ideals and thoughts from our own countries and the ways, right? But most Western countries are pretty much equal in some of their things. But another thing, I don't complain. I try not to anyways. I'm not perfect, in no means. But complaining about Korea doesn't help anything. Just find ways that make you happy. Go find a hobby. Learn Korean through your hobby. My thing was going to the gym, and I still do it, but I did water aerobics and things like that, and it's fun, even though you do it with grannies and mostly older people, and they, try to get talking to you, and they tell you all these things. But anyways, find a hobby, find something to do that will get you around people, even if it is Koreans. There are many expat things nowadays that is amazing. 20 years ago, no. Basically, you were on your own, except if you did have a small group. Anyways, so I hope that you can understand that life in Korea sometimes sucks, big time, but other times we've got to find that silver lining. It sounds so stupid, but it's true. Find that silver lining and look at it and find that gratitude and that attitude. Change your thinking, change your attitude. Yes, Koreans have some strange thinking and all those things, but we don't have to believe exactly the same way. You can, the old adage, agree to disagree, right? So anyways, so many things that you can learn in your life here in Korea. Say hello to other foreigners. I mean, don't go walking by a foreigner and never say hello, because I have made friends by saying hello, and those people have needed friendship. So don't close yourself off from other expats, even if you don't agree with them or you don't have the same belief system or anything like that. I know this is a long video, but I just feel that it gives you a little more aspect of what I really wanted to get across to you. So anyways, I am willing to help anybody. I did come here as a missionary years ago. That's why I came as a missionary, but also to make money, because I needed money for my loans and stuff from university. I went to a private university and it was so expensive. You know, life goes on, and we have these ups and we have these downs. We have things that screw with your mind almost every day. But have that attitude of gratitude. That is the best policy, in my view. But keep on keeping on.